Hello, everyone. Welcome back to D3 Crashout. So, I'm sure I've mentioned it. Also, this is the second half of a comp. I forgot to hit record. So, sorry, not sorry. But I'm sure I've mentioned it. But everybody and their mom right now wants to make a startup especially because I'm in the Bay Area. So, we're right next to San Francisco. And you can meet real people who talk about their startup and order out food all the time, which is crazy. But, anyways, value. There's a bit of a struggle, at least historically, with people and value, which comes from confidence. Either people might overvalue themselves or people don't value themselves enough because they're always stuck comparing, and it's very natural, right? Some might say it's a logical fallacy because you don't actually gain anything from comparing yourself to other people, right? Like it doesn't give you a job because you compare yourself to other people. Other people compared you to other people, and that might have given you a job, or the steps on how you did the interview and all that stuff. Like that might you might have gotten advice from others by, sharpening yourself by comparing yourself relative to them, but you as an individual might not have gained anything directly from a comparison, and that's usually the case. But besides the point, there are multiple aspects of value, but at least in particular terms of a startup, it comes with ideation and then your actual implementation, like what you're putting out there in the universe, and then finally the perspective, one might say, or the evaluation, and that has to come from other people. That's not intrinsic. So let's talk about it. Ideation. So there are a lot of great ideas out there in the universe. There actually are, like, I think the Half Baked newsletter is out there existing just so people can, think about certain things and potentially bring ideas to life. And there's a lot of great ideas out there in the universe, right? There's a whole lot of people out there thinking. And it doesn't really mean anything until the concept is proven physically, right? I like to use the example on the channel, but when somebody tells you, like, hey, bro, that's hot, and then you might not know what hot means, so you go over there and you put your hand above the stove and you're like, oh, wow, that hurts. That's hot. I feel the pain. Oh, I feel the heat, right? Now you understand it. And that's the same thing with ideas. I'm like, a lot of shit just sounds great on paper. It might seem like something could be very valuable, could be very useful, but it doesn't really mean anything until you actually make it valuable and slash or useful. And that comes with implementation. So all you founders out there, I write on Instagram, so you get to hear like Sam Altman and Mark Zuckerberg and like a coffee chat, and there's some inspirational music playing in the background, but you can hear all about it and how they process things. But the general idea is that you need a bunch of people who actually believe in your product during the ideation phase, and that is not nearly as important as implementation, even though they say 75% focus on implementation and 25% is left for that ideation, right? Like you need to dream big. You need to have that vision for your company, or that belief in what you're working on is meaningful, impactful, or will get you a lot of money. Like they say there's two successful business models. One of them is people who believe they're going to get a lot of money, like Oracle, and the other one is people who believe that they're going to make a product which is genuinely going to benefit the world and help people, like Apple. So, yeah. And then there's finally the last part. Like whenever you hear like RR, for example, or when you get like valuations, or this person went out, not this person, this company went out and during the funding stages and secured X amount of funding, or this has a new evaluation. Nah, I already said that. Whoops. That is when you get the outside perspective on value, which is what other people deem your worth. Some people call this a bid-ask spread. If you ever did bartering at a farmer's market, I know for sure that I love to haggle people at a farmer's market, and there's no shame in it. Um, so you go out and you're like, okay, I think that I'm a 7. And then somebody comes along and says, like, you're a 5. If you did that with every single person out there in the universe, you would have your bid ask spread as just a bona fide stats idea of there's this personal valuation that I have, and then there's a valuation that somebody else has, and it might be somewhere in the middle. Like maybe you're not in the best shape that you've ever been in your life, right? You have room to improve. Maybe there's someone out there who thinks really highly of you, you can create that environment that you have more worth, right? It's like Asian people love white people, for example. And there's just that perspective, I should say, that you should have on it, that there is your value changes from person to person, from place to place, like that context, right? Like even like the value of the US dollar, for example, changes relative to where you are. Like the yen, it's not 100 yen to every dollar. Like sometimes it's 140, sometimes it's 132, sometimes it's 100. I think it got to 170 at some point. So it changes, things fluctuate. Right? So value is always changing, and that is perspective, reflective, I should say, or directly caused by the economic state of any particular country. But this is also just true, like in general. I'm like, if you are a person who might be very physically attractive and someone learns out that you have like 50 bodies, they might, like look at you differently. They might value you differently because of your history. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's really unfair. Like that history's not me. Like I've changed as a person, but history is all you have to predict the future. It's like you're going to get judged of your past in order to predict your future actions, because people want to believe in you and actually know how you're going to behave if you go out into the future somewhere. Wow, I really should have killed that Zen and just walked forward. Yeah. So very natural response, but you might be able to improve yourself, which is very true. But once you improve yourself, you still have to prove yourself to other people in order to change your value, right? It's like a sorry doesn't really mean anything until you stop stepping on people's foots or something, right? So those are your general steps towards value. You have an idea. Maybe for self-improvement, it's like, I'm going to start working out, and that might improve your value. And then you actually have to start working out and start getting gains and building yourself up. And then based off how much that you improve, other people might value you differently. And that's basically it. So yes, your value is intrinsically attached to other people. However, how other people value you may change you. You still are the only person responsible for changing you and altering your value. And that first ever part is, before you do any of that, you need to believe that you can change yourself and that you are within control. So ideas that I've tied into a bunch of my other videos before. So yeah, fun stuff. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about today because I've been seeing all this startup stuff. I'm trying to get in contact with YC, one of the founders. He's a CTO right now, and I used to run cross country with him, and this reminded me of him. Wanted to talk a little bit about value. No, I love just saying the same thing that I already said. Okay, that's about it. No more ramble. Bye bye.